Look at that.
I don't know what any of it does, but it looks cool.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Part-Time Overland. As you can see, my hands are full. I am going to meet up with Nico because today we're lifting his truck. All right, so we're on the road now. Gotta go pick up a couple tools from my house. He has some of the tools, I have some of the tools. So that's where we're meeting him now, and then we'll get wrenching. Yo, yo, yo! What's up, bro? How's it hanging?
Oh, not so bad.
Oh.
You?
Good, dude.
Yeah.
So run us through real quick what you have going on now.
Stock. Well, actually not stock.
Do you have spacers on it?
Well, I've got spacers on the wheels, and then I did throw 1-inch blocks on there a while ago. You can see them pretty easily.
So it's higher than stock, but not by much.
By exactly. You can see the spacer right under that leaf.
There we go.
But it's just a 1-inch body lift. So.
And other than that, all the suspension stock too.
Yeah. I've got spacers in the front as well.
All right, so that's what it is now. Now run us through what we're going to.
So, what we're gonna do is a full Fox suspension kit. We're doing upper control arms, we're doing front coilovers, and rear shocks. These are gonna be the rear shocks that we're gonna put in.
Dude, those are beefy.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
I don't know if you can see reference to my finger, but those are huge.
And then the front is gonna be these guys. Yeah, the full coilovers. Again, remote reservoir, not adjustable.
Those just look awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty hefty.
Fox logo on there.
Yep.
So that's the plan. We're gonna start on the rear here first. As you can see, we've nosed it into the garage. Oh, that's way overexposed. So we've pulled it in backwards. We're gonna start on the rears just because it's easier. We're doing less work to the rears, and the light is maybe running out soon.
It's gonna get dark quick.
So, but it's warm.
It is
That's
warm
nice.
for now. It'll drop 20 degrees.
It'll get cold soon. But we're gonna start on the rears, drop those in. That should be pretty simple. And then I guess if we have time, start on the front. Or you're just gonna. There we go. Let's get to it. All right, one tire off. Now to the next one. We are getting started here. Is that a 14?
Yeah.
All we have to do on the rear is actually super simple. Nico already has blocks back here. He's not messing with the springs for now. So all we're actually doing is replacing the shock itself, obviously on both sides. We've just been up here sort of laying all this stuff out. This is for mounting the remote reservoirs. And this is really the only thing I haven't done personally, just because on my 4Runner doesn't have those fancy things. So we've read through all that. And I think it's pretty simple. Get the top bolt done, get the bottom bolt done, and that thing should pretty much just fall out. Okay. Unless you break your hand first. Oh, that was so much easier than I thought.
This little guy just came out. This is a big back guy going in.
Look at the difference. Yeah, you can't really
They're
see.
kind of inverted, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy has the cover. But, I mean, drastically different. These are all, this one's also, I don't know, 1/2 inch.
Bigger bushings, longer overall length. So,
Yep.
All right, you ready to pop that one in?
Let's do it.
New bolt is in. Ended up working out well, but we had to use quite a bit of lube on there.
Lube her up.
That's the first one in. Looks pretty good.
Yeah. Now we just have to tighten this and torque this to spec, and then
mount that reservoir.
that bad boy.
It's gonna go out here. Technically, it says to measure out what I think 25 inches or so, but it's pretty much just all relies on how long this hose is. So we might measure it, we might not. What do you want to do?
Just gotta send it.
Fuck all over your truck. There we go.
I have so many regrets.
Got one side on.
Boom.
You want to do a test fit with the shock?
Spin point.
See if I totally screwed it up.
Seems pretty good.
Oh, it's gonna look so cool. There she blows. Want to shine a light on that? Oh.
Also, it's already leaking, as you can tell.
Yeah, we broke it. But...
Just kidding.
Well, that's awesome. Ready to do the other side?
Let's do it.
Now, behind me, I have a wild Nico. Right now, as you can see, he's trying to crack loose these bolts, and he's having quite a bit of trouble.
Not in his natural habitat.
It is now day 2 of the project, and today's task is to rip all the front end out. We're replacing front coilovers and front upper control arms. I think that's really going to be the struggle of today, is the upper control arms. We're going to have to bend some sheet metal, rip these long bolts out, and all that fun stuff. So we're getting the tires off right now and jumping into the project.
Oh, say hi to the camera. Come here, come here, give me. Oh.
He's gonna lick it.
We thought we were being tricky. We dropped down this lower control arm and we undid the sway bar end link, and we were able to get the strut out just like that. However, we actually do need to remove the entire sway bar because these little guys, these fancy little brackets that hold up the remote reservoirs, those actually get mounted right in between the frame and the sway bar. We're gonna have to remove this and then get the new strut in. Comparison time. All right, what do we got going on?
Here we've got the two side by side, and here you can get a good idea of what we're upgrading. Just taking a look inside here. Obviously, this does have that cover, and it's flipped upside down. This doesn't have the cover, so the inside of the shock is visible. But you can tell just this is way skinnier than this.
The other thing is this new shock is a bit shorter, but my guess is this spring is, usually they'll have a rating, I think my spring's in the 400 or 600 pound springs or something, so my guess is this is going to be a stiffer spring than this, so even though it's shorter, it's not going to compress as much, so hence it maintaining that extra lift.
But yeah, that's the comparison.
Time to stick this new sucker back in there. Side 1 is now complete. Like, almost.
We got all this stuff. I guess I can take that sticker off. Right now we're just waiting on the remote reservoir because we had to take the sway bar out and just disconnect it. And the Fox shocks come with a sway bar drop kit, I guess you could call it. What's
Yeah,
the
it
technical
just lowers drop kit.
Yeah, so it's a little block, and then also the remote reservoir mounts
Mount.
right up there. So this is gonna sit like that. Because we still have to do the other side, we're not gonna bolt all that together until we are ready to.
Looks super cool though. Essentially what we've done is we've gotten one side out of the way, so we actually kind of know what we're doing now. And we can show you on the other side without screwing up too many things. This other side here is pretty much the same. The only difference is there is this wiring harness up here, up top in the engine bay. This sucker down here, that's where this whole bolt pulls out for the upper control arm. And this is in the way, so we're just gonna loosen this up and try to get it out of the way so we can actually get that bolt out. So we've taken off this bolt down there, and that loosens up this harness, and then this wire clips down into that connector. So we've taken that off, and that basically frees up this whole thing so we have plenty of space for the bolt to come out, minus we actually have to bend that sheet metal. We're gonna start by taking these panels, dust guards, off. I'm gonna watch so I can watch Nico break all the clips.
Panel.
There we go. Oh boy. Oh, it's coming. That's pleasant.
It's so loud.
We're also gonna loosen up this bolt and the one in the front. These bushings are sort of just holding this assembly in place, and we're gonna loosen that and the whole lower control arm can sort of swing down at that point. Also, if you're going to do this, make sure to mark these. I think you can see that little red dot there. This is what aligns your front, what is it, camber? So these have an alignment. If you're doing any suspension work, it's recommended you should take it for an alignment afterwards anyway, but as long as you can get it close afterwards. So align that so you can get it properly set. So lower control arm is hanging freely. It's disconnected from the shock, obviously. Now it's time to get to the top of the shocks. Use your weird 16 millimeters because Nico has a cheap Chinese kit.
What's important here is there's 3. So 1, 2, and 1 all the way behind. This back one is pretty not fun to get to.
Is it out?
Yep. It's all you.
Alright.
Voila!
Sucker is out. Before we go any further, we need to disconnect this brake line. Hold up, let me make it a little brighter. We need to disconnect this brake line and
Down here.
down there.
Okay.
You don't have to do this one down here, but it just, the more things you can take off, the easier it is to get this out of the way. Basically, you're just trying to, when you drop this down, because you're going to end up taking off this castle nut, and this upper control arm is what's holding this whole assembly from falling down. So once this drops, you want to have this out of the way, and you don't want it to yank on any cables that, or the actual brake line. This is the ABS line. And there we have it. This ABS line is up and out of the way. There's some slack in it, so that won't be in our way, and time for lunch.
So super important part here is when you're starting to loosen this, you want to make sure that this is supported, especially when you undo this. The reason being is that we have these brake lines. This is the only thing that would be holding this whole assembly up once we undo all this stuff. So this toolbox is the perfect height for us. You can use your jack or whatever.
So with this supported, we are going to take, this has a little cotter pin. We're going to take that out. It has a castle nut, which is pretty easy to come off, at least on the other side. I think it's a 19. And then tap this side with a hammer and the upper control arm should pop out. Boom. There we go. So this right here is probably the trickiest part of the whole process. What we need to do is we're trying to remove this entire bolt. And to do that, there's really no way of getting around it. You just actually need to bend this whole sheet metal outwards. I'll show you from the top here. The bolt's down in there, and there's this sheet metal which needs to basically be bent out towards the fender side of the truck in order for that long bolt. It's about 12, 14 inches long to come out, so it's a little nerve-wracking, but that's what needs to be done.
God, I hate this.
This is a thing that you never want to do to your truck.
It's so wrong. It's a little easier to get it out this way because you can kind of pound the back of it, but getting it back in, it's way better to just spend the extra 5 minutes to try and bend this a little better.
Yeah, if you're wondering how much to bend this metal out, obviously do it just as much as you need to. Don't want to overdo it if you don't have to, but the more you can bend it out, the more room you can give yourself is going to be easier. Not necessarily for going out, but we found pushing it back in was where it got tricky. Oh, dude, I might be able to... No kidding! Is that just coming out? Oh my god! That was so much easier than the last one. Alright, this washer is going to fall on you.
So that side was a lot easier than the other side. You could see how it's kind of a pain in the butt to get it through all that, but that was not nearly as bad. And then here's the upper control arm. Here are the two upper control arms. Obviously this is the stock one and this is the new one. They're very similar. One big difference is this has a lot more space inside, which is going to be for that remote reservoir hose. If we do kind of put them together.
There's a Zerk fitting in here, so this is, I don't know if it's performance-wise much about it, but you can refill these with grease guns to keep them lubed. A stock one does not have that.
And that reminds me, there's another two that go here, Zerk Fittings. I just have to screw them in. Make sure to point those forward or outward so you can actually access them. So here's the Zerk fitting. Everywhere it says do not over tighten.
So of course we tightened it to 500 foot-pounds. It's time to put the new shock in. Nico's going to put this in with the control arm out, just so there's more room. And while he does that, I'm gonna grab this sack of bolts and sort of hand tighten those in so it holds itself.
Alrighty guys, so these washers go on either side of the upper control arms, kind of sandwich them in. Comes with a little grease packet. Dirk King was kind enough to provide that. I just doing a little grease on here. Nothing too crazy. I'm not a pro at greasing, so that's what I've been doing so far. Again, we only do have that one packet, and I'm doing it on one side on each of these little guys. This guy is gonna get jammed back in with this. This is kind of a two-person job, just because someone will be kind of pushing that, and then someone has to be kind of putting the correct parts in order. But yeah, that's what's next. So now here, the plan is essentially we just got to get those together. This assembly is all free right now. It's just really heavy, so
That's why he's doing it.
great. We're just moving it and trying to get it to where it needs to go.
Get on there, bitch. Okay, you're good.
Boom.
Just like that. With the upper control arm in, we are going to take the lower control arm, which is all loose and floppy. We're actually going to jack it up with a floor jack and get it into place with that, so we can put the bolt through. Then we got these two bolts down here, which need to be screwed back in, and that should complete the assembly. Alright guys, here she is. Look at this beauty.
So it's been a couple weeks now since we've installed the lift kit. We got everything wrapped up, front, rear, everything went in fairly smoothly, as smoothly as we could ask for a, garage project, and went together nicely. So, Nico, give us a little update how she's riding. How does she feel from before on the stock suspension to now?
So at first I kind of freaked out because I was like, oh my god, this really isn't that different. I don't know if it was worth it. But after driving it on highways, over speed bumps and that sort of thing, you really start to notice it. I guess the best way I can describe it is it takes the sharpness out of the bumps. So if you think of a bump like on a graph or something, kind of goes up sharp, back down. Now it kind of smooths it out. So you still feel the bumps. It's not gonna make the bumps go away. It's not really how suspension works, but that sharpness is kind of eliminated, and it's awesome. It's really nice. One thing I've noticed is the front's a little softer in general, obviously because of the engine weight. But with the rear ones, when it's unloaded, it's very stiff. And having stiff rear shocks is pretty common on trucks, but it's fairly noticeable when you hit regular bumps. It makes it feel like all of your suspension is stiff. But if you put a little bit of weight in the back, it smooths it out and just eats it up. It's awesome.
So that pretty much wraps it up. Nico also got these new sick, what are they, Method rims?
Yes, Method 701s, I believe, with the trail grip on them.
I personally mounted them. They were a pain in the butt. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
No, but they look sick, and now I need to get some for my rig. So that's it. Tested it on the road, tested it over speed bumps. So far, so good. With that said, I think it's time to test them out on the trails. Ready to go rip?
Ribbit.
Here she comes. Oh god. She's sliding. I think you're through.